Hello, and I'm glad to see you and talk with you about relaxation, about mindful relaxation and other topics which can be connected. So first of all, introduce yourself to our viewers, to people who watch. Let us know anything about you. What do you do? Maybe some of your hobbies or anything which you seem important, you think it is important to share to people.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting for this to talk about this interesting topic, the relaxation and its importance in our daily life. So I hope you and our viewers will enjoy this conversation. My story is rather fascinating when I look back at all the adventures that I had in my life. But currently, I have two big projects that have been with me for a number of years. The first one is the Sound Academy that has been active since 2013 because I'm a professional musician, I'm a pianist. I used to play in concert halls and
Oh, wow.
But then life took me slightly on a different path, but the passion remained. And in 2013, I started to teach sound therapy to professional audiences, combining spiritual science with the actual science. Yeah, so Sound Academy or Sound Energy Medicine Practitioners Association, which was founded in London and still exists. And now we have Sound Academy in Bali. And my other activity is the Daoist Center. Actually, I practice QiGong since the age of 9. And breathwork, meditation, yoga as well. So a few years ago, I actually went to China to the Daoist temple and spent the year with Shifu and beautiful temple brothers and sisters, and was accepted into the Dragon Gates lineage. So now bringing that wisdom in connections to Bali, where the Daoist Art Center is based currently. So my journey was interesting. I started as a musician, but then as I was born in Russia, we had the collapse of the whole economic system. I moved to the international management and received MBA. I had economic degree. So for 15 years, I've been working in international consultancy. So a completely different world. But I think because I had my Qigong practice since the age of 9, it kind of, for me, the consultancy space, the corporate world was a place of practice, practicing balance. And because I worked in consultancy and what it involves usually is optimization of processes of communications between people. So that was very beneficial area to work in, bringing that harmonic resonance into the space. I spent a lot of time in India studying Sanatana Dharma, which is traditional Vedic science. Many years in ashrams. I studied also with Sri Aurobindo, community Auroville. Then I met Tibetan lamas of Nyingma lineage and Bon tradition, and studied Buddhist mind yoga. We built also Stupa of Enlightenment in Moscow at Zurich Museum. I was really blessed to touch upon the Buddhist mind yoga, which is really in-depth mind study, actually. So where I know many neuroscientists, they take the inspiration from, actually, from the practices. And yeah, so I'm not religious, I rather explore different sciences, approaches to spirituality and to balance, in how we find balance in life, how we navigate. And so my recent studies are in Daoism tradition and all the practices that are within. Yes, so I'm integrating different perspectives, but also trying to root it, to bring the spiritual knowledge into the other dimension, let's say. Yes, so how to integrate it, to transform the systems in corporate world, for example. Yeah, so yeah, I'm kind of both hats and 2 feet in both worlds. Yeah.
Very impressive. Your background, like you really touched so many different fields, and as I can see, quite deeply connecting with different teachers, different schools, spiritual schools, and not only spiritual. And what also is interesting for me, that also you were in this business world, yes, consulting.
Yes.
And that gives you probably deeper understanding what people from that world may lack in their lives, and maybe you can deeper be more compassionate to them, to have more empathy to their needs. Yes, probably because it was your past, you were there, and then you went into this spiritual world. Yeah, I'm very curious. What were you seeking? Like when you studied your spiritual path?
I think, as you mentioned, we kind of see these 2 worlds as separate, because for us, for some reason, the state of high awareness somehow is not connected with the current practice in the corporate world, right? So that's in our subconscious, right? So we already create this separation of these 2 worlds in a way. The truth is that I've never actually was dividing these 2 worlds, because I was quite young when I started consultancy at the age of 19. I started to work, and then 25, I had my own company. But I was lucky because QiGong practice and Daoist cosmic healing has been with me since the age of 9, so generally. So for me, there was no division. But as you mentioned, I could see people suffering because for some reason, like for me, it was always a joy, and kind of I enjoyed actually navigating through complexities and imbalances in order to balance things, or create this transmutation. Is there is this alchemy term, So how do you transform the energy for it to be harmonic, to optimize the processes or relations? Because what is success in life is when the energy is flowing harmonically. Then we are healthy, but also business supposed to be working on these principles where the energy is healthy, right? So optimized, healthy, harmonic. Also the term suffering, it does come, from the philosophy of Buddhism or Daoism. But by saying somebody's suffering, we also like put a little bit of a stamp on their state. We can say it's the universe experiencing itself, like this, right? So of course we feel pain in someone's, like when somebody's angry, or somebody's jealous, or somebody is expressing themselves in unbalanced way, you know, we feel there is suffering maybe, or maybe it's just not harmonic state of mind, right? So here we touch upon what is harmonic state of mind. And as you also study this topic, yeah, let's touch upon, for example, what is beta waves? Yeah, beta waves is more kind of material, yeah, kind of more material perception of the world. So there is black and white, you know, there is efficient, non-efficient, there is action, and even beta waves can be divided into three states. One is just analytical thinking. Yeah, then there is a little bit of nervousness that comes with it, and then there is panic. So if we look from that perspective, in the corporate world, the whole system is built in a way that encourages us to function in this beta waves frequency, right? Kind of, yeah. So at the same time, there is a creative. Yeah, I was managing in one huge holding of corporate communications. I was a creative director. So my task then was to create a brainstorming groups to brainstorm on creative ideas. Yes, so I learned the techniques of how to take people from the boxed set of mind, which is the materialistically oriented, you know, box state of mind, which is beta waves, through associative thinking into beyond. Yeah, and then the creative flow starts, and then we gather ideas, and then we come back into this analytical mind to structure them, and then to write a proposal for the client, for example. Yeah, so it's very closely actually linked to the state of the brain and navigating through those states. Yeah, so there's waves. And so now the situation is a little bit better in the corporate world, because many companies integrated meditation, many companies integrated mindfulness programs, sound healing journeys, yoga. So people started to learn how to go from that state of just analytical thinking into creative thinking, theta waves, you know, the flow, etc. And we are not touching yet the ethics, yeah, and the intention of the business. That's another big topic. Yeah, we just touch upon this side of how people operate in the corporate world, you know? And some like more innovative areas, like technology companies like Silicon Valley, I don't know, brain computer interface area, artificial intelligence, and you know, more kind of innovative technologies space. They embrace those creative spaces within the company. And why? Because there are a lot of geniuses, but there are a lot of geniuses, mathematicians, right, or physicians, or so their brain is operating slightly different, right? So it's all kind of interesting conversation, like as we're diving now into how actually the brain operates and how we can go from one state to another. Yeah, so how we can go from beta waves, which is stressful state, like for example, because I learned the Daoist practices. Yeah, so for example, I'm having a consultancy project, but things don't work, right? So there is a difficulty to resolve a problem, you know, or something is not happening. So what do most people do? Yeah, so they take a cigarette and they go and smoke nervously in the corner, right? Or they start to tell bad words about this company or this person. I wasn't smoking. I would be going to a ladies' area and I would do my Daoist practices. Yeah, because there is Daoist cosmic healing practices. So generally, I would spend 3 minutes or just working with energy purification and colors visualizations, or elements visualization. Yes, so by doing that, I would balance the energy field of myself. I would bring the focus or the energy that is circulating in the mental plane. I would bring it downwards, yeah, because we actually physically work with the energy field, yeah. And also by using visualizations, I would change the alchemy of my brain. And so my frequency is changing, my state of mind is changing. I bring my brain from beta waves, critical kind of state, criticizing people and nervousness, into alpha and theta state. And I come back, and very often there is no more problem. Right? So I've been doing it for a while, and I really loved experiments even. I was blessed to work with one of the best fraud experts in the world, and observed how they can change the conflict in the room, like 15 people having different opinions. In 1 hour and a half, he would switch the state of the mindset of people in the room. So in 1 hour and a half, everybody would come to one solution. Yes, so this is crisis management. So how do you synchronize the brains of each other so people come to one solution? Right? So that's a fascinating topic, and there are tools of doing that. And I'm sure in fraud management, for example, they already learned this, like conflict resolution, how to work with those states. So yeah, I hope I touched upon a little bit of those insights.
Wow, it's very exciting, very interesting. I'm personally very interested in everything which you said. Hopefully, our viewers will be interested as well. I have some questions. So, even in our project, we also touch this topic of creativity. And for me, this is a kind of already like a destination. So you said I don't know much about these beta alpha waves of the brain. So I just will call it like stressed state, yes, or nervous state of the mind, yeah, and the calm state of the mind. So for me, I don't understand how we can switch fast from the stressed state to the creative state. It's a journey, kinda, and if the person, especially if person lives in this stress state for quite a while already, or maybe for a long time, it requires some steps first to, I would call it, to come to this state of non-doing. So this state of kind of emptying your mind first, and then in this state, this creativity can arise. That's my own experience. And but you mentioned it's kind of possible to switch from this nervous state to the creative state.
Yes.
Why, like within 2 hours or something like this?
Yes.
Am I correct? Can you explain?
Yes, I will give 2 examples. Yes, so
Yeah.
as you mentioned, it's really easy to navigate through brainwaves, and we know that there were a lot of studies with llamas, and they were measuring their brainwaves with EEG. And llamas are well known for being able to switch their brain from beta to gamma, like in 5 minutes, which shows a very experienced meditator. Yes, so that peaceful state of higher awareness, right, and creative flow. But I will tell you something very interesting. My brother is a neuroscientist, so he's actually a genius programmer, mathematician. So he had his first degree in computer studies. But then at some point, he realized that he's really interested how the brain works, and he completed his brain studies. So he's one of these rare people who work on the border between brain and computer, or BCI, brain-computer interface, yeah, artificial intelligence. So we had a lot of conversations and circles about this topic. And there was one study we did together, because when I started to teach sound healing, or before I was preparing the program on sound healing, because I knew the impact of sound therapy from a very, or sound waves, let's say, yeah? The sound in general, the magic of sound, from perspective of the ancient Buddhist lineage. So, you know, it's very spiritual realm, and it's like a sacred instrument. And there are a lot of practices for the mind and with the sound that they use actually to connect to higher dimensions of the mind. Yeah. So, so for me, it was really interesting to explain this complex spiritual science in a simple language. And before I started to teach sound healing, I did a lot of scientific research. Yeah, so I gathered a lot of articles. And because my brother's a neuroscientist, we had an access to Brain Institute, to laboratory, the actual laboratory. And it was a fascinating exploration, really, because we both used EEG. Yes, so me as a sound healer, and a lady who was a student during her exam session, so to say. So her brain was very chaotic. My brain was also chaotic because I was carrying very heavy singing balls to the laboratory. So I was really tired. You know, I arrived, so my heart rate variability wasn't balanced, you know, my blood pressure, obviously, and my brain was, I was really tired. I traveled for 1.5 hours to a laboratory. So, and that was reflected in the brain waves, right? So as soon as I stroke the ball, singing ball, the sound comes into space. Her brain and my brain and went straight into alpha, like for a few seconds. Yeah, and we're still sitting, the eyes are open. So then it went back to beta. And then when we started the session, the brain went into alpha, yeah, theta, gamma, and somewhere else. Yeah, so at that point, we did the study 2013. There was no explanation where the brains are. There was no scientific name for that area, which is beyond. Yeah. Now, I think just a few months ago, I think they came up with a new brainwave. It might be omega. Sorry, I need to find that. I'll find it and share with you this research. So how sound, actually, why sound helps us to go there. Yeah, so this is very fascinating, because I will now weave together many spiritual traditions and scientific understanding of what actually happens with the brain. So in yoga, yeah, we have the alternative nostril breathing. Why do we do that? Yes, so there is Ida Pingala, and each 1.5 hours, our nostril shifts. So 1.5 hours, one nostril is open, 1.5 hours, another nostril is open. So this is kind of balancing the work of the nervous system, different brain hemispheres. This is normal functioning. Yeah, that's why we turn around when we sleep. Yeah, we turn from one side to another to balance the flow of oxygen through the body, the blood. And why we do this, and why it's considered one of the most powerful practices for reaching high self-awareness and enlightenment. Yeah, because actually after the practice of alternative nostrils breathing, both nostrils will open simultaneously. So when this happens, sushumna is opening. Yeah, so this is a central channel. Yeah, so when two brain hemispheres are synchronized, some magic happens. And this is where we receive this higher state of consciousness. This is where we receive alpha. theta and gamma. That's physiology connected, right? With sound, yeah, it's even more fascinating, because what you need like more time for meditation, you need up to 15 to half an hour, and some people cannot reach that, because they're not practiced. When you strike the bowls or any ancient instrument like flute, for example, yeah, so the instrument that contains binaural rhythm, yeah, because you're also a musician, so it's something that entrains the brain between two waves. Yeah, so when the brain is entrained, sushumna is open straight away, and so it takes just a few seconds. Yeah, so, and that's why this is the fascinating fact about sound healing. So how can you reach the state of creativity? Use ancient sounds to tap into that. It works miracles. Yeah, there is even more in that, because like when we finished that research in laboratory, and when the girl woke up and we started to talk with her, her brains were in that balanced state, still there, alpha, theta. But as soon as we started to talk about problems at her university, social problems, political problems, or whatever, the brain went straight from that state of relaxation to better ways. Yeah, so that's for you, yeah, how what we think, our thoughts impact on the state of mind. Yes, so yeah, problematic discussions will bring your brain back into the state of better ways. Yeah, the most incredible thing happened because my brother asked the girl 1 hour and a half after the session, so what did you feel having this sound healing journey? And so when she started to remember her experience, her brain waves went straight back into the state of alpha, theta, gamma, which is fascinating. And that's the power also that, obviously, like the power of sound, when we remember that experience, our brain is actually experiencing that for real. Yeah. But it's also scientifically proven a fact how thoughts impact our state of mind, right? So this is one story. Yes. So for you to show that how do we switch to creative thinking, use the sound and binaural rhythm. Yeah, there are many musicians who work with it nowadays, and sound healers, and somebody uses ancient instruments, somebody's using, yeah. So but you can experiment and see how different music impacts you and your brain, and find the music that helps you to expand. Yeah, so that's kind of the side, from my experience, that's the very quick path to creative state. Yeah, the flow state, as it's being called. But also from my experience, yeah, if we look into other practices, for example, in corporate world, in big companies that work, for example, with creative ideas, there are different practices. For example, you would like to create advertising campaign for, I don't know, Silverstone, yeah, like motor competition, racing competition, for example, yeah. So if you start to create ideas just by, okay, so we have the cars, so how would you, promote so when you start to think logically, very few ideas will come. Yeah. So what you do is you go into beyond world, so association. So for example, racing, right? So racing festival, what are like your associations with, you know, racing? What do you feel like? What are the first keywords that come to you? Yeah, and sometimes it can be like speed or excitement or passion, but for someone it will be an unusual word. Yeah, like black, for example, or red, or something like this. So it's just an association. Yeah, so it's not logical. It's kind of, we tap into other dimensions here, right? So these techniques are actually used by big corporations to go beyond thinking mind into associative or space, you know, by association. So we tap into different parts of the brain. So, you know, so it's more creative part of the brain, which is prefrontal kind of cortex. So they use these techniques as well. Yeah, so there are specific techniques that, you know, there is a training course for brainstorming and tapping into creative flow. Yeah. So yes, it's easy, it's possible, and you can use different tools. Like I was using the tools of QiGong and Daoist healing also to tap, yeah, into association with colors, into healing myself. Yeah, and I would shift my brain waves to a different state just by 3 minutes practice. Yeah, of Dao cosmic healing. Yes,
So,
does it?
yeah, very interesting, very interesting. And I already had several questions in my mind.
Okay.
So it sounds like it's especially music. You mostly talked about these music waves and sound healing. That it's a very effective and fast tool to change the state.
Yes.
And but you also mentioned that it's not stable. So after this, you still come back to your previous state, right? To this kind of maybe stressed environment. And it's like, because environment actually reminds you about the state and brings you back to this stressed state. And but still there is a memory. So there is something in the brain kind of changes, as I understand. So you can remember about it and you can come back to this state. So it's not just some experience which was in the past. It's partly present with you, maybe on subconscious level, as I understand.
Yeah,
Right?
it's very good observation. So fascinating fact is that the brain of musicians is different. Yeah, so I didn't know that, but once I was at exhibition, big exhibition, like different technologies for spas or, you know, healing centers, because I used to have healing center in London, so I was visiting, exploring, you know, different scientific, innovative tools that are being created now, with frequency medicine especially, and there was a gentleman with a technology that you could measure your brainwaves at home. It's very simple, like homemade technology, like for technology for home, really. And so when his assistant was measuring the brain of different people, and so when he measured my brain, he literally looked at the brain and he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, my technology is probably broken, and I need to speak to, you know, professor." And so, but when professor came and he looked at the actual view of my brain, he said, "Oh, no, don't worry. Are you a musician or sound healer?" And I'm like, "Yes, I've been working." So, then it's okay. This is normal for musicians to have brain like this. So it does change, and the brain is a muscle, right? So why, when we come into the space of, for example, a temple, we meet the yogis who've been meditating for many years, we feel tranquility suddenly, right? So there are some waves that are being emitted that we naturally pick up. And so the more you practice meditation or sound healing, the more you actually train your brain to stay in that state of relaxation. Yes, so the more you train your brain to stay in a state of alpha or theta, yeah, the state of high awareness, it's like a muscle, so it stays there continuously, right? So your brain develops capacity to always be in that state of high awareness, and that's what we experience with experienced meditators. They all seem to be in their peace within themselves, right? So they emit that also around them, and we feel it, and that's why we feel at peace as well. So absolutely true that the more you meditate or work with sound, the more you do practices, the more you learn to stay in the state of relaxation, peace within the harmony. So, and the brain is a muscle, so you train the brain to be there. And again, of course, it takes time. So we go into higher state, and then we have some conflict or something that brings us back to better waves. Yeah, because we're being stressed out by something. So yeah, so it kind of goes up and down until it's established in this peacefulness, tranquility, where perhaps you learned already at that point to navigate through different triggers, right? And so when you have any kind of trigger kind of coming into your space, the informational field, you are able to react peacefully, right? Or also, what is Dao? Dao is finding harmony. Daoism teachings, the key principle is like we find harmony, whatever happens, whatever waves is going up or down, it's all the ocean. Yeah, so we just flow with it. Yeah, we're not triggered by up or down. There is no concept of up and down at some point, because the brain is in the high state of awareness. So we're tapping into spiritual science, right? So you can train the brain for sure, and there is science which backs this up. Actually, I wanted to tell you something very interesting little fact also. A few years ago, there was a study made. I will send to you this link. I have it. When I teach sacred geometry of sound, universe, and human, I always give this example, because what is stress? Yeah, how do we experience stress? Usually we experience contraction, right? So there is something that actually contracts us. Yeah. What is the state of creativity, the flow? We feel openness, right? So there's so it's kind of very body sensation. So the most incredible thing is they did a study, scientific study, and they discovered that it's not only physical contraction, stress, but it's actually contraction of the DNA. Okay, so DNA is contracted. So what is DNA? DNA is responsible for informational flow in the body, for optimized informational exchange within the body, because it's all informational field. So when the DNA is contracted, right, so the energy informational exchanges and all other exchange that comes with it is not flowing in a proper way. And so the DNA is contracted, but they also, try to integrate the meditation and relaxation into the study. So when they started to apply these practices, so people who participated in the study started to practice meditation and relaxation, the DNA again relaxed. And so the relaxation impacted for, optimize harmonic informational flow within the body. How fascinating is that? Huh?
Yeah, interesting. I actually don't understand this like expression of construction DNA. It doesn't make any sense to me because I don't know much about it, and I don't know how it can change anything. About stress, like why construction, I explain it to myself that that's the state of being ready to fight, being ready to survive in a fast way, and we gain this from our like evolutionary process from this world of animals and so on. Then before, a long time ago, we were hunting someone and we could be killed by some animal, wild beast and whatever. So yeah, long time ago, maybe like 10,000 years ago, life were quite dangerous probably, and this skill to survive very fast, to contract yourself and be like to get all the energy from our body and jump over the wall, run, or I don't know, to do some fast action to survive. It was very important for us probably, but nowadays we don't need it, and we still have this habit to react in a certain way, and it came from our physical world to our psychological world. So we actually have this imaginary situation in our minds which cause this contraction. There is no real danger, real threat around us, yet we can experience it. And this is something which we already don't need, but we still have the habit to behave in this way and to react in this way. So it feels like it's something which we already need to let go and evolve through this. Yeah, it's my like.
Yeah, it's traditional way to view the human development impact, and it has roots, of course. Like I'm also doctor of Chinese medicine, so I studied Chinese medicine. In Chinese medicine, it's all about the flow of energy through the channels within the person, right? So if even in this life you had a trauma in childhood, for example, you were swimming in the ocean and somebody scared you, so you will develop phobia of water, for example. And so, for example, if you were scared and you contracted at that point a specific part of your body, like your chest, for example, or the shoulder, the brain associates that experience and also carries that trauma as a contraction in this part of the body, you know? And so the energy that flows through this part of the body will be abstracted. And in the future, this may manifest as a disease because of that contraction that happened in childhood. Yeah? So that's why we do also practices, meditation, visualizations, and there are many beautiful practices like chakra meditations or scanning the body practices. Yeah, so when we actually learn to direct our awareness to different parts of the body, with this also moving the energies through the body, right? So this helps to dissolve those blockages within the body. Yeah, especially if there is awareness about specific parts where the blockage is. So if we tap into that informational field, and DNA is that the it's like a foundational blocks of our informational field, right? And fascia is the informational field network through the body. So, you know, any kind of experiences of stress or traumas will manifest as contraction in the body. Yeah. So, yeah, and then if the glands generated specific hormones at some point in life, this will stay in the body, yeah, and it will demand the same cycle. So it's like, for example, if you experience a phobia of water, then every time you think about water, these hormones that are within the body sitting in that place, they will reactivate the same neural connections in the brain, creating this cycle of thinking. So it's the same cycle of thinking, right? So it's like a created pattern, created cycle in the body. And so then, you know, we touch upon which practices to do to reprogram the body. And there are tapping techniques, there's also sound healing, there vibrational healing, associations, yeah, or quantum healing, for example. So there's acupuncture, there are many modern practices that exist currently, you know, so many ways to learn to navigate through the, you know, interconnection between the brain and the body generally. Yes? So it can be ancestral, but it also can be, yeah, very recent. So experience that, you know, childhood experience that created the pattern of stress, for example, and that manifests, you know, every time in interactions with people, etc. So yeah, so yeah.
So it's about finding these traumatic patterns of our brain, this repetition of these like triggers, like reaction to these certain triggers in this stressful way, which are caused by some traumatic experience from our past, mostly childhood probably. And through some tools, we can reprogram our brain and yeah, just let go this habit, kind of, yeah, like get
Yes.
rid of it.
Yes, yes,
That's
absolutely. Yeah.
the idea, kind of, yeah.
Yes. Yes, all in our hands. And this is where awareness comes, you know, when you feel you're triggered, when we feel that we're out of balance. Yeah. So something is triggering us, something is taking us out of balance. Yeah. It's very subtle feeling, sometimes quite loud feeling, but often it's subtle feeling. We suddenly feel a little bit off. So that's already the beginning of the process. Like, something took me out. So then you can ask the question, what exactly happened? Yeah, or you can just do practice to shift your brain back to relaxed state. Yeah, and balance yourself. Yeah. So everyday activities, right? So it's, and I like to compare it with a tree. Yeah. So if you look around, the nature is fractal, right? So the nature is fractal. That, like, look at the tree. So there is a trunk of the tree, and then one branch comes out, then another branch comes out. Yeah, another branch comes out, another. So, for example, Vipassana practice, which is also a very powerful practice, is when from these branches we come back to the center, and we use just, you know, terms like I'm thinking, or I'm feeling, yeah, or I'm hearing, right? So instead of following the branch of the thought, we cut this branch and we return back to the center, to the trunk, yeah, and this kind of purifies the brain. freeing it from cycle thinking, right? So this is one of those techniques that is really beneficial for people to apply, is to come back to the center. Yeah, so rather from that branch of thought that creates other branches and other branches and other branches, we actually come back to the center. Yeah, by just, okay, I'm thinking, doesn't matter what I think, I'm thinking, yeah, or I'm feeling some emotions, yeah, but it's like anger, what is it? It's like, I'm feeling, we don't give it a name. So we don't allow the branch to grow, right? So, but it's in nature, right? You can't stop tree from growing, right? However you cut the branches, it will still create another branches. So this is fractal nature of our mind, yeah? We can learn to navigate it, right? So when we learn, we start to control a little bit. We bring awareness to the work of our mind, and we already see its nature, how it's developing, how it's branching out. Okay, oh, this is a cycle of thinking, like I'm thinking again about this person in this way. Okay, I'm just gonna go back and, you know, I'm thinking. So you kind of deactivate this informational branch. Yeah, so you deactivate it, and with time, it's also reprogrammed, yeah, because it's not active. Your energy flows to different things. Yeah, so in Daoism, you say where awareness goes, the energy flows, right? So if your mind always flows to this problem, then you are actually feeding energy to this problem. So it's not a resolution, right? But if you go back to the center, then the resolution will come in a natural way, so to say. So, but it's just one of the examples of how, you know, we can start to navigate through like brain activities or some patterns of thinking.
Yeah, it's very interesting topic. Also, what I was thinking about this recently, that it's also required. It requires certain awareness of negative results. So we need to actually see that these branches, they bring us to suffering, and we recognize it, because quite often we are not aware of it, so that it's just we are already there. We didn't see the process, the how we managed to be there.
Yes.
So we recognize that this way of thinking, or this way of behaving, it brings us to suffering. And at the same time, we can see that the other way brings us to happiness.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like your observation that it's not easy sometimes to see that we are suffering, right? And
Yeah.
it's very subtle, that feeling. Is there joy, or it's because many people get used to suffering because it's very powerful feeling. Yeah, people get addicted to pain or suffering, right? So there is that kind of essence, especially because it's very powerful emotions, and some people are addicted, you know, to these cortisol spikes, yeah, so or dopamine spikes, you know, so because it makes them feel alive, so it kind of covers their unhappiness, so they start to get addicted to suffering. So there is this essence. So, but even though I studied, you know, Buddhism and studied with lamas, and it's very common word, suffering. I don't like to use it, because when you say, so it's like, I don't like this duality, suffering or joy, because life is not really dual. Yes, so there are many colors. There's not just black and white, there are many colors. I will just, you know, it's first time this idea came to my mind, but our Shifu in the temple in China, he uses the term red dust. yeah, red dust. So what does it mean is that our soul, our mind is pure, right? By nature, we are created on basis of divine template. And so on basis of sacred geometry, right? So we are actually the divine child, and the mind is sacred and the body is sacred, and the mind is pure in its nature. But by different reasons, we allow the red dust to settle in the brain, in our mind, yeah, not the brain, the mind. That actually, you know, when there is a lot of dust, you don't see things. And so it's like we are in this red dust, and that's why we just don't see the true reality of things. And so then you work on not removing the suffering, because the word suffering implies, you know, some kind of critical attitude to the world, but rather you work on purifying the red dust out of your mind, coming back to purity, right? So the natural purity of the mind. So that slightly shifts the perception of reality, because suffering will mean different things to different people, right? And it's also kind of, we create division between what is good and what is bad. But this is also depends on perception. What is good for one person is not good, for another person, and vice versa. So, but I don't like to use these words that imply that, like, I believe Earth is heaven. We just forgot our pure state of mind. So when the person remembers that pure state of mind, they bring that frequency with them. Anywhere they go, they build the activities, community interaction on basis of that pure state of mind. And so then by having that light, kind of glowing, shining bright, they kind of help others to purify the mind as well, to let the red dust dissolve, so to say, out of the body. Yeah, so it's like reminding, here is the light, and then the red dust settles. Yeah, sometimes it goes up, but then it settles when there is bright light. It goes down. So yeah, it's interesting. That's the first time I kind of thought about it. But yeah, for some reason, I don't like to use this term. So I know they're quite common in Buddhism and Daoism.
Yeah, maybe we need to define this term, this suffering. But what I mean about, I don't use it in from some religion, Buddhism. Maybe I have my own perspective to this.
Yes.
So suffering is, for me, when I fight with reality, when I disagree with life, which is happening at the moment, when I think that this should be different, what is happening right now is wrong. This is suffering. It's not, suffering is not pain. Suffering is not discomforts. It's an interesting way of our psyche, how our psyche work, which is unique for humans. And so I can experience pain or discomfort, but I can not suffer at the same time. So, and vice versa, I can suffer and be in absolutely in a good, good normal state of my body, at least. Yes. So suffering is absolutely psychological, I don't know, trick of the mind, I could say. So we can disagree with what is happening at the moment, which is kind of absurd, but somehow it happens. And this, for me, it causes a lot of problems in our life. And also the stress is just part of it. I could say that some stress is kind of healthy. So we need to, in some periods of our life,
Yes.
we need some stress. We need to be ready to do some active decisions, movements, and so on. But in most cases, I think this stress is caused by this mind games, kind of when we disagree with life, when we fight with reality, with life. And as you said, like, I like this comparison with this dust, because it's, the problem is that we are not aware of it. Even we are not aware that we are suffering. We are not aware of how we, like, often, like, even in my own experience, I can notice that sometimes I can see that I am suffering after like an hour of suffering already, for example. So I didn't notice how I managed to be in this already destination, in this state. So it's a state of like a fog in the mind. I don't see why, but then after a while I can already understand. I can analyze it, that was actually caused by this disagreement with life. So what do you think about it? It's my own perspective.
Yeah, I really like that perspective, because it's very subtle. Yeah, it's kind of inner feeling that something is off, that I'm not going with the flow of life. Yeah, there's something like contradicting the flow. Yeah, my way, something is off. So it's very intuitive, right? So, and that's where the high awareness is creating that state, perhaps, for us to find the path again. Yes. So again, there is no good and bad. If we perceive suffering as a way to find a better solution, then yeah, like, what is problem? In Greek, problem means finding the solution. Yeah? So as soon as you find solution, there's no more problem. So it's always, maybe it's that informational field that is creating those signals inside us, saying, hey, something is off. Like, look into yourself, or what exactly you're doing, or where exactly you're going to. Right? So then it's a constructive stress. Yeah, it's a constructive suffering in a way. And yeah, so again, suffering can be good and bad. Like, some people put themselves through suffering on purpose because they discover their strengths. Yeah, so they cut unnecessary things in their life. They rediscover themselves, living, I don't know, in very severe conditions of life on purpose, like yogis. Yeah, like yogis live in the cave without food and in cold. So they put themselves through suffering in order to find what are they capable of, how they can let go the perception of suffering. Right? So because there is no suffering in its essence, but somehow we perceive it as a suffering. Right? So when you let go the perception that this is suffering, then you will get back to heaven. Yeah? So it's all the mind perception. Yeah. So like my teacher, Tibetan teacher, said, we live in heaven. If you don't live in heaven, check your perception. Right?
So I think suffering is actually forget that the fact that we forgot that we live in the heaven. So this is suffering. So it's like living in this illusion. That's its word also. Like, it's imagination. I don't know, whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Yes,
that's right.
it's
Yeah.
just a point. It exists. Yes. With
Imagination.
feeling, with this feeling, that feeling of I'm separated, I am alone, I'm lonely, I need to survive in this dangerous world. This
Yes.
feels like suffering. It feels like this really strong feeling, like a tension, psychological tension inside me. Yeah.
Yes, it's fear, but it can be fear based.
It can be felt very realistic. And
Yes.
that it exists, it doesn't feel like, I don't believe in this expression that suffering doesn't exist.
Absolutely, and it's funny. It's reminded me when you started to speak about fear and being like in Chinese medicine, for example, fear is an emotion of imbalanced qi in kidneys. Yes, so kidneys generally is a reservoir of energy within the body, right? So if you feel fear, it means that your kidneys qi is not in balance, and so this is what it means. There's the unhealthy energetic field within specific parts in the body. So then you start to nourish your kidneys, for example, with guided visualizations with lights. Yeah, for example, you can imagine dark blue light, or you can imagine the ocean. Yeah, or you can nourish with the feeling of flow, which is creative flow, is in the kidneys. Right? So it's connecting vision with creative action is also kidneys. Yeah, fascinating, right? So like in Chinese medicine, if you don't have a creative flow within your life, check the qi in your kidneys. So then you nourish your kidneys, the flow of energy improves through the body, and then the fear is dissolved and you have enough energy for action. Right? So that's another perspective to look into that. Yeah. So it's kind of a very interesting aspect of how the body is also impacting the state of the mind, yeah, and vice versa, how the state of mind impacts the state of the body, because with the nervousness we actually disperse, we deplete the qi in the body with nervousness, right? So seem like too much mind activity also, anxiety, it's the energy is going here, not here. And that's why the qi of spleen stomach in like civilization, like in busy cities, people have depleted qi here. It's very obvious, in diagnostic, that you say, oh, your spleen and stomach qi is depleted, and the person doesn't sleep, has anxiety, because too much thinking brings the energy from the healthy work of organs to the too much energy in the brain. Yeah, and so the energy from here, is depleted. There's no more energy, and so people experience anxiety. So it's like a cycle, body mind, body mind. So it's very fascinating, to approach it from different perspectives, and try to find different solutions, because maybe for some people this work, maybe for some people this work. But yeah, for me, the tools of Daoist cosmic healing always works. QiGong, sound healing, yeah, and awareness. Yes, so it's daily meditation. It's my QiGong practice, which is meditation, stillness in action. And if something is really, really, really taking me out of balance, then I use singing bowls and I bring my brain back into alpha theta state, like in a few minutes. So, and that works for me, and I'm sharing this experience. Maybe it will be helpful for other people. But I know you also have a lot of different methods. Vipassana is amazing as well. That's really powerful tool. Yeah.
I practiced, I've been in this 10 days Goenka Vipassana.
Yeah.
Definitely, absolutely amazing tool. And but it's interesting that all of them require repetition. They require like discipline and practice.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's interesting that also different people. Also, it's a good question. What do you think? Either like universal tool, like which can suit to every person, or it can be different depending on the character of the person. I don't know. So for one person is Qigong, and for another one is like sound healing, and Qigong is not so good. What do you think about it? Or like Qigong is good for everyone?
I would say one of the most powerful instruments is your voice. So humming. Yeah. So humming is very special because you actually create vibration in the body, which means that just humming, you start to move the energy within the body. And if you also combine it with, scanning the body, so actually humming in the root, in the heart, third eye, or you can even, do humming through the body. That really helps to harmonize the body because you create vibration and you create also sound, the inner sound, which balances the hemispheres of the brain. That's available to you at any point of your life, right? So humming is very powerful. I always share with everyone the cosmic healing meditation, and which is, if you look at, like we say, Tian Di Ren in Chinese, which means poetically translated is the human is the bridge between the skies and the earth, right? So there are two poles and we are in the middle. So there is energy field of the earth, right? Which is actually science. So the earth stimulates the electromagnetic flow through the body, the electrons flow through the body, the movement, yes? So there is no stagnation in the body. So we need to be connected with the earth. It's different practices of connection with the earth breath. Yeah, I'm happy to share also this little practice with your audience, of course. And with the skies. Yes, so this is where we have this cosmic healing, where we use different colors and elements. So those practices, they don't take much time. You can hum for 2-3 minutes. You can do a connection with the earth and the skies and energy bath. Also 2-3 minutes. And it's a magical. It's a magic. Transformations are absolutely incredible. And I know this practice works because I used it in very difficult spaces, working in the corporate world, sometimes in very conflict environments also, sometimes environments with many sufferings. So it's an internal practice, right? So in a way, when you learn to do it physically, like actually practicing, when you're in spaces that you're not able to practice it, like there are many people, you can't just start doing it. You can do it internally and it does the same effect. So in a way, you're creating your inner focus internally rather than externally, where you lose your energy. It's an internal process. Yeah, so it's accumulation. It's accumulation of energy. Right? So yeah, those are very simple tools. They take 5 minutes a day, and they work miracles.
Amazing. Yeah, actually, we have this short singing. We call it singing circle. It's actually humming circle at our workshops. And yeah, it's so simple and so useful. I'm surprised that everyone can do it. You don't need to have any background, I don't know, spiritual practicing background. It's very, very simple, and I love it. It's so good. Yeah. We have, like, unfortunately, my cloud for recording is finished, the message. So, and it's actually already time, I think, to finish. but I don't want to because it's so interesting to talk with you. And maybe we can arrange one more video later someday if you have
Yes.
time. Because yeah, I would love to have to ask you more questions and to listen to you about. Yeah, I think we can really touch so many topics.
Yes, it's a pleasure to talk. Yes, and I will be happy to share more and also even show the practices so people can learn. Simple, very simple.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And see you maybe again later.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye bye.